Hey guys, what's going on? Steve, I'm back again, and I'm back with another Walking Dead video from the Thrifty Typewriter. So I'm continuing on with his analysis series, going over, I would say, certain key episodes throughout the series, going over like some good things, some bad things, and like how they impacted the entire series of the show. So the title of this episode is Why Clear is the Best Bottle Episode of the Series. And the show did have a lot of bottle episodes. You know, once they kind of went to that 16 episode formula and stuff like that, yeah, there was definitely a lot of bottle episodes because you got to fill out that 16 episode season and stuff like that, which is kind of a shame, you know. I think like 12 episodes would have been a lot better and stuff like that because a lot of the earlier seasons, you know, things just happened a lot quicker, and the 16 just kind of like made things drag out way too long because, you know, the whole formula later on in the show was basically all you had to really do is watch the first episode, episode 8, episode 9, the mid-season finale, mid-season premiere, and the season finale, and you'd basically be all caught up on everything. Where in a lot of the earlier seasons and stuff like that, you kind of didn't really know when anything was going to happen. So, but yeah, there was definitely a lot of bottle episodes. Some of them are okay. Some of them, just kind of pointless. Like me, I tend to, in my rewatches, skip the Eastman episode. Because it's kind of, you know, obviously if you're watching the show for the first time, yes, go through and watch it and stuff like that. But, you know, in rewatches and stuff like that, I just skip it. You know, it's just kind of pointless. Yeah, Morgan meets Eastman, a cheesemaker and stuff like that. He takes him in. You know, he tries to reason with him, calm him down. Morgan's still, you know, the way he is. But then he starts learning and he starts training and stuff like that. And then Eastman gets killed. And then, you know, Morgan's like, I will carry on your legacy, basically. You know, I mean, it could have just been like a small flashback. You know, it didn't need to be a whole episode. But Clear, on the other hand, much different bottle episode. You know, because this is the first time we've seen Morgan again. You know, Rick hasn't seen Morgan in however long it's been. You know, basically, this is when also the group was basically against it because they were, you know, going against the governor and his men, so obviously they needed weapons. So going out, finding weapons and stuff like that, reuniting with Morgan. This was also a great episode because we had Carl and Michonne's interaction and stuff like that, and they basically, you know, got to know each other a lot more. And that's when, you know, Carl was like, you know, she's not bad. You know, I think she's one of us. So, yeah, a lot of really good stuff happened in this episode. You know, that's when we first saw, you know, Crazy Morgan and stuff like that. And then that little teaser, people wearing dead people's faces and stuff like that. You know, that little Easter egg and stuff. So, but yeah, overall, that was a really good bottle episode. But, yeah, let's just jump right into the video and learn about it, shall we? Here we go.
Across all kinds of different TV shows, you hear the term bottle episode when there's a limited number of cast or when the story is contained into one place or area. There's usually a negative connotation when you hear this term because it means that the budget wasn't nearly as high for these episodes or they don't usually progress the story in any meaningful way.
Yep.
The Walking Dead has its fair share of bottle episodes. In fact, it might have more bottle episodes than a lot of other shows do. Some of these bottle episodes are met with success, and some of them, to phrase it nicely, aren't. But perhaps the best bottle episode the show ever gave us was back in season 3,
Walking Dead bottle
and that's
episodes.
The episode Clear. At this time in the show, the feud against the governor was in full swing.
Oh, yeah.
People wanted to see Rick and the group fight the governor and take down Woodbury. So instead of showing us that, they gave us a side mission with Rick, Carl, and Michonne to go out and find more weapons. On paper, this doesn't sound very good. But throw Morgan back into the mix, a character we haven't seen since the pilot episode,
Yeah.
and you pique the audience's interest. So in today's video, I'm going to be recapping the episode clear, giving my analysis on the episode's themes and messages, as well as how it set up a lot of future storylines. So let's head back to Rick's hometown and dive into the episode.
Oh yeah, we go back
Clear.
to Rick's hometown too.
So right off the bat, this episode contains a pretty iconic moment, and that's where Rick, Michonne, and Carl drive right by the man in the
Orange backpack.
We also see a sign that was left behind for a girl named Erin. As they continue driving, they get stuck in the mud,
I don't
and a
remember
crowd
that.
of walkers surrounds their car, one of them wearing a bracelet with the name Erin. So they clear the walkers when Carl talks
Little things
to
I didn't
Rick,
remember.
saying he doesn't want Michonne here because he doesn't really trust her. Rick defends Michonne, saying that he asked her to come. They get the car out of the mud as the man with the orange backpack catches up to them, yelling.
What do you think would have happened if they picked him up? Do you think he would have been a good guy, a helpful guy? Could he have been a doctor? You know, there's always an interesting. Someone should do it. Well, I guess there's really not much information, but I think it'd be kind of interesting if someone did a video like, what if they stopped and picked him up? I mean, what would have maybe potentially played out? Granted, there's probably like no information on him, but still, it would have been fun to, think about. Obviously he'd still be alive. I don't know, just an interesting what if scenario.
For help, but they get in the car and drive away. They arrive at King County, going into the armory at the police station and finding that the weapons have already been cleared out. They leave, planning on going to the liquor stores and bars because Rick says that's where some other guns could be. As they head out, they see signs that somebody else could be in this town with them. As they continue on, they find a street filled with traps. They start traversing through it when a man with a rifle calls out to them from on top of a building. This man tells them to drop their weapons. Of course they don't, and a firefight ensues. Carl puts a bullet in the man, though when Rick checks, he's wearing body armor. Rick unmasks the man and sees that it's Morgan. Rick says he doesn't want to just leave Morgan outside since he saved his life in the beginning and since he has a son. So they bring him inside, avoiding Morgan's many booby traps on the way. When they get upstairs, they find an armory that puts the one in the police station to shame, even if it had been full of weapons. There's all kinds of different writing on the wall, one of the words being clear. They start.
What actually are some of those things? Riley, you know what? First fight at Aberdeen? The arrow wound, the knife wound, the shrapnel?
There's all kinds.
16 hours in 19 something. We were supposed to be the doorknob, you had the knife. Hardcore.
Kinds of different writing on the wall, one of the words being clear. They start gathering the weapons when Rick finds the radio that he gave Morgan back in the pilot episode. He looks at the wall where it says Dwayne turned. Rick realizing that Morgan's son is now gone. Rick tells the others to stop because they're going to wait for him to wake up. Michonne is against this idea, saying that Rick himself even said that the man is different, and he also tried to kill them. Rick insists that they wait, so Michonne sits down and eats one of Morgan's protein bars. Carl looks at the wall, seeing that Morgan had drawn a map of the entire town. On the map, it shows that Rick's house had been burned down. Carl says he wants to go and loot the baby store, wanting to get a crib, but Michonne says that he'll need help carrying it, so she goes with him. Carl tries to lose her, but she catches up to him, and he says that he wants to be left alone and do this on his own, but he passes the baby store and says that, oh yeah, he wants to go and get something else for Judith first. Michonne continues to follow him. Rick finds the rifle that he gave to Morgan when Morgan wakes up and tries to attack Rick. Rick tries to talk some sense into him, but it's clear that Morgan has lost his mind.
I see what you did
Rick
there.
says that he knows him, but Morgan says he sees people wearing dead people's faces. He gets the upper hand on Rick, stabbing him in what looks like the heart, but apparently it's just the shoulder. Rick gets up and gets his gun, Morgan begging Rick to finish him. But Rick doesn't, bandaging himself up and talking to Morgan, trying to get him to remember him. Morgan does remember Rick, saying that he abandoned him and didn't turn on his radio when Rick promised he would. He also tells Rick the story of how his son died, how it was his wife that he couldn't put down that did it.
Yeah.
He tells Rick that everybody is eventually gonna die, leaving only the men like them alive. Carl and Michonne arrive where Carl was trying to go. He wants to go into the restaurant and grab a picture of him and his parents. They try to take out the walkers, only to get a bit overrun, losing the picture in the process. They make it outside, and Carl begs to go back in and get the photo. Michonne tells him to wait a minute, and then she comes back like 5 seconds later with the photo and also her own souvenir. Rick tries to convince Morgan to come back with them, and it seems for a moment Morgan is considering until he learns that Rick needs the guns to go against another enemy. Morgan says that in the end, they'll just all be taken apart by either teeth or bullets, and he can't be there to see all of that again. Carl and Michonne come back with the crib. They pass by Morgan, and Carl talks to him, saying that he's sorry for shooting him. Morgan tells him, don't ever be sorry. Rick talks to Carl about Michonne, Carl saying that she might actually be part of the group, and he's okay with that. They put the guns in the car, and Michonne asks Rick if he's okay because she knows he sees things, that she used to see things too. Rick lets her drive, and as they head out of the town, they see the orange backpack on the side of the road, stopping to pick it up before driving off. So I had completely forgotten that this is where we first saw the orange backpack. This orange backpack is a staple throughout the series, and orange backpacks like it. It usually signifies danger ahead, or that a character is going to die.
Carries on into like some of the spin-offs.
Some of the stuff off the top of my head, I guess spoilers ahead. Glenn has it when the prison is overrun and they're heading to Terminus. Daryl is seen with it in the episode that Denise dies. And Virgil has it when he and Michonne head to Bloodsworth Island. Those are just to name a few. I'm sure that there are a lot more times. The orange backpack in this episode obviously signifies the danger that Morgan poses, but on their way back, it also shows that Morgan is partially right in what he was saying to Rick. He says that no matter what, everybody is going to die, and there will only be men like them left to pick apart.
I'd like to see the orange backpack legacy continue on in like a spin-off.
This episode is also really the start of the Grimes
one of the spin-offs that just shows up.
Family. Carl doesn't trust or like Michonne, but Rick sticks up for her, saying that he asked for her to be on this trip.
And then at the end of the show,
plans and
the end of the episode,
see things that he couldn't see himself, even offering up some encouragement to him in the end. She also helps Carl on his mission without belittling him and his efforts. Anybody else could have easily told Carl, no, we're turning back, but she understands his reasoning and helps him to the best of her ability. This was really a glimpse of what the future would hold between these three, and to see a pretty concrete beginning was really cool. But the highlight of this episode is Rick and Morgan reuniting for the first time since the pilot. All of their scenes together are just incredible. I really don't think my simple recaps can do it justice. This scene is fantastic and really keeps you on the edge of your seat, even though it's just two people having a conversation.
And you
Honestly, this reunion is better than their reunion in the season premiere of season 6. We see two men who started on the same journey but have had vastly different outcomes. While they've both lost people along the way, Morgan's solace and loneliness is ultimately what turns him into the person he is in this episode. Rick is surrounded by people and his family, which makes this episode all the more meaningful that his future family is here on this trip with him. Morgan clearly has a few screws loose, not initially remembering who Rick is and trying to kill him, but he keeps mentioning this term, clear, how he's alive to clear, and that's his purpose now. Clear to Morgan means to take out these walkers and burn them afterwards, a sort of self-inflicted life sentence in order to repent for his sins. He couldn't put down his own wife, and she took her and Morgan's son away from them, so Morgan does his duty by putting down all of the other walkers that get stuck in his traps. We also hear the story of how Dwayne was killed, and Morgan says that he saw red and he finally did it. Now, I'm not too sure how reliable of a character Morgan is here and if he's telling the truth, but there's a walker in the restaurant that looks remarkably like Morgan's wife. Might just be a coincidence, might just be me theorizing too much. Speaking of theorizing too much, Morgan has a line in this
Interesting.
episode about people wearing dead people's faces.
Yeah.
A lot of people have theorized he was talking about the Whisperers. Now, the Whisperers weren't around
Right.
even in the comics at this point, but it is cool to
Plus
think
in
about them
different states.
being around for so long and that Morgan actually saw them. Almost makes them even more terrifying than they already are. At this point, Rick is pretty
I think that's already
hopeful
been
and wants
debunked,
to
like,
bring
they're not
Morgan
even in the
back,
same
but
state or
Morgan
anything
says
like that, but
they're
still
all
cool.
just ultimately
They're just
doomed
like a
and he
little
doesn't
Easter
want to
egg.
see any more loss in this world, so he opts to stay. Rick kind of takes this personally, still trying to see the good of situations with a hopeful outlook, and this contrast is ultimately what makes Rick give up on trying to recruit Morgan. But like I said with the orange backpack, Rick kind of sees that Morgan is right and that everybody who's alive will die and it'll just be them left. I was really sad that Morgan didn't end up going back with the group. I think that would have been a really cool what if scenario to see, but
That
it does
would
make
been.
for some great moments a few seasons down the line. Those are my thoughts on the episode, a bit of a shorter one today. This is a bottle episode after all, but what are your thoughts on the episode?
Yeah.
I was going to do a video on Here's Not Here and continue the streak of season 6 episodes that I have going, but if I'm going to do that one, then I feel like I just needed to do this one first. Keep an eye
Makes
out
sense.
for Here's Not Here, and for those following closely on my channel, I have the X-Men video that I'm working on. I thought I'd have it finished by tomorrow, but it definitely won't be done that quickly. The video is so far over an hour long, so it's going to take a little
Damn.
bit more time. Alright, anyways, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.
Okay, so there we go. Pretty cool episode. You know, it still is a really good bottle episode. One of the very few bottle episodes, because there is some good ones. You know, like you said at the very beginning, the Here's Negan one. You know, that was one hell of an episode. You know, but yeah, then there's just been some that are just like, can just skip these. You know, don't even really need to watch them. But yeah, this one here was really good. You know, we learned so much stuff. Reuniting with Morgan, you know, Rick, Carl, and Michonne, Orange Backpack, which I think would be kind of cool, like I said, for it to make an appearance in like a spin-off somewhere, you know. Continue on the Orange Backpack legacy. Yeah, just learning more about what happened to Morgan and stuff like that, and losing Dwayne. Yeah, it was just an overall really good episode. You know, even in the earlier seasons, even the bottle episodes in the earlier seasons were good. You know, but yeah, later on down the road, they were just kind of, just not as good. But, yeah, like I said, I think it'd be kind of interesting. I mean, I doubt anyone can do it, but what if they picked up Orange Backpack Guy? I mean, granted, you know, like I said earlier, there's probably, like, no information on that guy, who he was, where he was coming from, or anything. But I think it'd still be kind of cool. What if they picked him up and he lived, and they brought him back to the prison with them? You know, would he have been helpful? Would he have been a governor's spy? But, you know, what are the chances of him running into the group on that road at the same time? You know, I mean, how would that guy have known, oh, these guys are going into town on this day, let me go on the road, you know? So, a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, it still would have been an interesting what-if scenario. You know, just like, what if Morgan did go back to the prison with them? I don't know. But yeah, other than that, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. And, of course, if there's any videos you guys want me to check out, let me know down below in the comment section, and I'll be happy to make a video on it. But, yeah, other than that, just stick around. More videos are on the way, and I will see you guys next time.